Okay, this text is called Changing the Conversation, Grades versus Learning by Star Sackstein. She is a teacher and writing from a teacher point of view. The first question she asks, what does the letter A communicate to you? If a report card is reflective of a student's learning, why does it only happen a few times a year? Why do high school students only get one grade per class? What does that grade actually mean? This and many other questions have recently plagued my traditional beliefs about what it means to achieve, and then equally as important, how to communicate that achievement. I used to think that getting A's was everything. An overachiever myself, hungry for validation, I worked tirelessly to acquire knowledge and impress my teachers. Some would have called me a teacher's pet or a few other choice names that we call people in the favor of teachers, but I didn't care. I love the feeling of learning and the recognition I got for doing it well. B's simply weren't good enough. No one pushed me to be this way. I was intrinsically motivated by the grade and the feeling of accomplishment when I knew I'd aced it. It was exhilarating. And when I see my students this way, I get it. I get them on a deeper level that may never understand. My brother, on the other hand, needed to be bribed. He was naturally smart, but didn't enjoy school for learning. So my parents paid him for every grade of 85. I remember being angry that this rule didn't apply to me. It wasn't fair. Justice had a lot to do with my sense of achievement. It was also as a student and as a teacher. How could a person who didn't work as hard as I did deserve the same grade? How could it be possible? All that changed this past year, though. It started with the feeling that something wasn't added up. Maybe it was during a group assignment when I gave a grade for a product, or maybe it was because of late work or compliance. I'm not sure, but it happens. Averages didn't seem accurate for learning, even when it was weighted differently. How could two students get the same grade when their learning profiles were so different? There had been a better way to communicate with parents and students about what their students know and could do. So I started reading as often as I do when I need answers. First, it was Ken O'Connor's Repair Kit for Grading. It lingered. It made me question what I considered achievement. It made me consider change, and then I read more. Mark Barnes, Alfie Cohen, Rick Wormley, etc. And I felt ashamed for having done the things I had done. In all the injustices I had served in the name of justice and learning, all I could say now is, sorry, I was misinformed. Here are some of the realizations I had about achievements. Bullet point number 1. Learning and achievement are all about what students know and can do based on the standards. If they can demonstrate their ability to be proficient or effective by achieving mastery of a skill or standard, it doesn't matter how they do it, they just did it. Bullet point number 2. It has nothing to do with compliance, so I should never take off points of our kids' work because it's late or not done exactly how I asked it to be done. I should never be that specific. Number 3. Grades have nothing to do with behaviors. These are two separate but important issues, and one should never muddy the other. Behaviors should be handled separately. They certainly have little bearing on what kids know and can do. Number 4. Standards were written as a benchmark for the skills kids should be able to know and do, and that's why we need to communicate learning to kids and families. Therefore, report cards should be like my son's elementary school ones, broken down by standard, given a measure of mastery against them, no average grade. 5. Summative assessment, although valuable in the end of a full unit or year, should never be used to punish kids for what they have or haven't learned. 6. Grades should never be a punishment, period. 7. Homework shouldn't be an additional hoop to jump through, but rather a supplement for formative feedback. It should never be graded. After all, learning ends when you put a grade on something. 8. Narrative feedback on assignments or in conferences is the most effective way to help kids grow. Providing specific, regular feedback on learning helps kids become proficient on the standards. 9. It's not enough to tell a student that they aren't doing something correctly. We need to provide them with the possible ways to do it better or they won't learn. 10. There is more than one way to meet a standard. Not all kids will do it the same way, and that's perfectly acceptable. Some will take longer than others. This too is acceptable and responsible. 11. One size doesn't fit all in learning, so our teaching practices shouldn't either. We need to be flexible when working with kids to help them find achievement success. So one of the few things that's happening right now, you're either nodding your head in agreement or shaking it in disagreement or feeling very guilty, as I did, for never seeing what seems so obvious now. Learning isn't about grades, it's about mastery. So what are you going to do about it? This year, I plan to document my journey. I know it won't go all perfectly, but that's okay. I'm learning. It may take me some time too.